Smoke on the beat, nigga.
So if you care about this film and you want to go see it and you don't want it spoiled, now's the time to get on out of here. Cause I'm letting loose.
What did he say?
Okay. So to start, Michael B. Jordan plays twins in this movie, and immediately, right, to start the movie, you believe that they're two separate characters. He plays them both differently. They're color coded for your convenience. He plays the Smokestack twins, which is a pretty cool name, right? So there's Elijah Moore and Elias Moore. But the first scene that you see them in, they're both hanging on the side of this car. And one passes another a cigarette. And, you know, they just pass it back and forth and they're smoking. And right away, you're just like, oh, okay, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're doing this. And Michael B. Jordan, for the first like 2 minutes, his southern accent was kind of like, but then I forgot about it. Like it just kind of, he plays them both with a different twang, right? So Smoke is the blue one. He's the more level-headed one. He's the older one. He's cool, calm, collected, right? And then Stack is like the hot-headed one who's wearing red. He's like the slick talker, womanizer, you know, just, he's the cool one. He's the cool one. And man, when I tell you later on in this movie, spoilers, one of them gets turned, I was like, damn. Like, I don't know. Like, I just, at no point did I believe that this wasn't two twin brothers. At no point during this film did I question it. I was just like, damn, they got my boy. Not now Michael B. Jordan can relax a little bit because he doesn't have to do 2 takes for one scene. Goodness gracious. The young man who plays Sammy, Miles Catton. Whew. So we open up and he pulls up to this church. He's banged up. He's in an old ass car from the 1930s, I'm assuming, or where, like, around there. And he's already had a night. He is limping. He's got a big old scratch on his face. He's covered in blood. And we're like, damn, nigga, what happened to you? And of course, we're going to find out. And he pulls up to this very old church. Well, not old church, but he pulls up to a very small church. His dad's the pastor, and he has a broken guitar in his hand, like the stem of a guitar in his hand. Fretboard, I think is what you call it. Either way, he's got half of a guitar, and he's clenching that thing. He walks up in there, people see him, they freak out, and his dad is just... It's crazy because his dad isn't freaking out. It sounds and feels like he expected this to happen, and you'll understand, I guess, later in the movie as to why. But, you know, he's just like, put down the guitar, son. Give your life to God kind of thing. And it immediately cuts back to the day before. And that's when we hit the ground running. So these two the Smokestack twins are known throughout their well, I mean, it's a plantation first and foremost. Like, we literally see people. We see Sammy, Miles' character. We see him picking cotton. They're sharecroppers, right? So, indentured servants, basically. And I think he went hard because, like, all of the cotton around his area is picked. He did it, right? Like, he throws a bag on top of stacks and stacks of it, and, you know, we kind of get a feel for, like, where this family is at. They don't have much. They're just trying to skate by, right? And then we cut to the Smokestack twins, and they're trying to purchase a property. They buy it from a grand dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. They buy this sawmill and they say they're going to turn it into a juke joint, right? Like a place where you can kind of go and forget your worries, like a club back then, right? And right off rip, you kind of get a feel for like who these characters are, because there's two of them, Michael B. Jordan and one of this guy, and God pulls up, the Grand Dragon, I mean, he pulls up strapped, and and you see the Smoke and Stack, you know, they're just, we get a feeling that they've done a lot of things to get where they are, because one of them just has a bag of money and they're trying to pay for this place. So they buy it, and you know, the racial tension is there, of course, right? But the Grand Dragon assures these two that the Ku Klux Klan doesn't exist anymore. And they were like, okay, but if we see anybody cross our property line, we're gonna kill them where they stay. And they stated on business. And there's another scene that kind of pays that off, but okay, right? So like, these two are not to be trifled with. And the movie does a good job of painting them as layered characters, because they do things that aren't good and they're definitely not altruistic, but you still root for them, right? So Sammy is their cousin. That's how he ties into all this, right? So the twins are Sammy's cousin. They pick him up from the church because his dad took his guitar. Sammy can sing and he plays guitar. And his dad, the pastor, wants him to be a part of Sunday service. Sammy's like, no, I want to hang out with my older cousins. They're cool. I agree. I would also want to hang out with his older cousins. And he takes his guitar. They pick him up. And the pastor, Sammy's dad, doesn't like him hanging out with them, and he says as much, but they assure him that they'll bring him back in one piece and all that other stuff. So they pull up to this car that they have stashed away, because they're trying to open this juke joint only one day. So they purchase the place, and then they try and open later that night because they're just trying to make some money, right? So they have this truck stash with a bunch of supplies off the road. None of these roads are paved, by the way. These are old dirt roads, of course. Whatever. But and you see how good these brothers work together, because when they uncover the trunk of the truck, there's a snake there. And Stack carries a knife that also doubles as like brass knuckles. They don't freak. He tosses Smoke the knife, and they get that snake up out of there. And initially they want to get the job done, right? So Smoke is like, we'll open next week. Stack is like, no, we'll do it tonight. Again, being the hothead. And he's like, okay. Smoke is like, okay, we got to do that. We got to split up. So they split up. Sammy goes with Stack into town. Or no. He goes with Stack to the train station, because they're trying to, I guess, summon the Jim Crow South musical Avengers. And Smoke is going to get all the supplies for the juke joint, right? So we follow them each individually, which gives Michael B. Jordan a break. So when we first go to town with Smoke, the blue one, we see him driving in. We see the white side of the street, black side of the street. He parks on the black side of the street, of course. And we kind of get some exposition, because they are from that plantation, but they went up to Chicago to work with Al Capone, of all people. But now they're back. So he parks the truck full of supplies, and there's a little girl sitting out front one of the storefronts. And even just then, right, you see posters for like 5-cent hamburgers and stuff like that. The world feels so fully fleshed out. So he calls the little girl over, and this is one of the scenes that I'm talking about. What makes a good person a good person? and what makes a bad person, and can a good person do bad things, and can a bad person be a good, do good things. So he calls the little girl over, and she's like, yes sir. He's like, you ever heard of the Smokestack Twins? And she's like, oh shit, I need to get out of here. He's like, don't be afraid. And then he pays the girl to watch his truck because he knows people will try and rob it, or steal from it. So he's like, I'll pay you 10 cents for every minute that I'm gone. And right away she's like, sold. He's like, not so fast. He teaches that little girl how to negotiate, and he himself ups the price to where he's paying her, I think they settled on 15 cents or 16 cents a minute, which was dope as hell, right? So then he walks into this storefront owned by an Asian family, right? And the daughter is running the cashier, like she's behind the register as a cashier. She recognizes, apparently they've been gone for like 7 years or something like that. She recognizes Smoke. Smoke asks where her father is. She gets her dad, and immediately you hear the little girl on the horn trying to alert him that somebody's stealing. And this is one of the best scenes in the movie. So he goes back outside again, all a wonder, I believe. He goes outside, catches 2 people stealing from his truck, or trying to anyway. He shoots one dude right away, shoots him in the ass. Bow! And everybody starts freaking out. And the other person who was trying to steal from the truck is a little further away. He's like, don't move. And then they begin to have a dialogue where he's like, where the guy who got shot in the ass, he's like, listen, if I'd known it was your truck, I wouldn't have done it. And then the little girl snitches. She's like, I told you it was his truck. And he's like, well, I didn't believe you. I thought they were up in Chicago. So Smoke is like, you're going to have to, get yourself all fixed up. And the dude's like, I'm broke. How am I going to, just going to get infected? Like, how am I going to care for myself? So the other dude he sees further away is fine. Smoke pops him in the knee. Bam. And we're like, what you do that for? And he's like, there's no way you're going to be able to tell someone that you tried to rob the Smokestack Twins without having a limp to show for it. And I was like, okay, so he's a certified gangster. They're certified gangsters. They have a reputation to maintain. They are not to be fucked with. And he lets them go. They don't die. He doesn't kill them. He immediately goes back into the store and pays to have them patched up. He pays the dad who runs the store, the Asian man, he pays for them to receive medical treatment after he's the one who blicked them both. So right there in just that one scene, you have a layered character who is capable of some very awful things, but is also capable of doing some good things. And that's kind of what the whole movie is about. And the movie as a whole does a really good job of showing versus telling. There's not a lot of heavy exposition in this film, and I love that. So that happens, and we meet the mother of the Asian family, and she knows how to haggle and all these things. Okay, so then we cut to Stack, who I refer to as the cool one, the slick one. Stack is at the train station, and he's there to recruit a musician played by Delroy, right? Delroy? Yes, played by Delroy Lindo. His name is Delta Slim, his character's name. He's playing harmonica, and he's going off, right? And again, this is where before that. So we catch them riding to the train station, just Sammy and Stack. And there's a rumor that they killed their father. The Smokestack Twins killed their father. So Sammy is asking Stack, his older cousin, he's like, hey, is it true that you said you would tell me when we got older, is it true that you guys killed your dad. And Stack is like, nah, Smoke killed him. We're just like, oh, okay. But it's because their father was abusing them, basically. And again, like when these characters feel so connected, the movie spends a lot of time building these connections because it hurts that much more later when we start losing people, right? So we see Delroy, and he gets recruited because he has an alcohol problem, and that's how they get him, with Irish beer from Chicago. But then we also run into Haley Steinfeld's character, Mary. So after they kill their pops, they're orphans, and Haley Steinfeld's mom cared for Smoke and Stack along with herself, and her mom recently just passed away. And again, the writing is so good that you don't need to see this character. It's not a flashback. We just get it like through dialogue. So Stack basically fell in love with Mary, and they get into graphic detail about what happened. And seeing Kate Bishop talk about things that Michael B. Jordan, seeing Kate Bishop talk about how Killmonger ate that thing, and then went all the way ham on the poon, was kind of not on my bingo card for this movie. But it sticks in your mind. It sticks in your mind for sure. So basically, she's upset because they didn't go to her mom's funeral, even though she basically helped raise them. But it's Jim Crow South. She's a white woman. And we find out later that her being associated with them would mean that she's in danger from the KKK, right? So Stack, even though he loved her, set her up with a husband and everything, and but she wanted to be with him. So that was something. And then we run into Perlene, played by Jamie Lawson. She turns in a also really good performance. I'm sorry if I didn't mention her earlier. She's phenomenal, and not just because she looks great. She sings in this film, and she also delivers a very heartfelt performance. Yeah. But so that setup, she lies to Sammy saying that she's married, or maybe she was, who knows. And he's trying to come on to her. And this is where we get to one of the conversations that I was telling you about earlier. So before Sammy asks about what happened to their dad, before he asks Stack what happened to their dad, we cut mid-conversation to Stack telling Sammy how to eat a girl out. And when I tell you, I've had many talks with my friends and my cousins about that, like, that's just what big cousins do with little cousins, right? So it is what it is. That was cool. That was a cool character building moment. So they recruit Delta Slim, and they're driving, and Sammy, I'm sorry, this is again, they're separate car rides, but it's on the same road. So Stack gave Sammy the guitar that Sammy has, and he asked him to play it because he wants him to play at the juke joint later that night. Sammy plays, opens his mouth to sing, and we, going back to the music, we hear, I believe Miles Catton did this, we hear him play and sing the blues. And when I tell you, I made the biggest stank face, like, that young man can sing, and he's got some soul in him. I don't know how many of the ancestors he had to like channel to make that happen, but man, oh man, it was. And we get a great reaction shot from Michael B. Jordan where he's also just like, wow, holy hell. So we're driving to, we get Delta Slim on the Musical Avengers team, and he also tells the story about how one of his best friends wanted to move to Arkansas, but he got lynched at the train station. And this movie handles it very tastefully because it doesn't show us, but you can hear it as he's telling the story. The sound design in this movie is very underrated because you can even hear him take his last breath. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm so affected by this movie, because it puts so much in the perspective that I just felt it took me for a ride. I felt things. It took me, you know what I mean? Like when we're all laughing and we're all kikiing, and then you hear someone get lynched in the background of a story. It's a lot. And man, that was a beautiful choice, and for me it worked. So, you know, how long is this movie's runtime, by the way? Because like the first act kind of, to set the stage, feels a little long, but after that we hit the ground running. How long is the runtime for this? It was filmed in New Orleans. That's crazy. What is the runtime? 2 hours and 17 minutes. Doesn't feel that way. Doesn't feel like that at all. But yeah, we're like halfway through the movie already. No vampires in sight, but we get some really good storytelling. And there's another scene that's really good storytelling as well that I am. So we then switch from Stack back to Smoke, and Smoke goes to visit a grave, and it is the grave of his now passed on child. And we get Annie, I said her name earlier, but I want to say it again, and I want to make sure it's correct. Annie, Miss Wunmi Mosaku. She plays Annie. She just feels like a really great figure in this movie. I'm glad they gave her a lot to do. My only experience with her before this was her playing the main agent in the TVA during Loki and stuff, and Deadpool and Wolverine. She kills it here. So she comes out to see Smoke, Michael B. Jordan, at this little grave, and there's a little handprint on a stone. He brings flowers, and there's a thing of milk too. So these kids come by. She owns a store, so these kids come by her and they buy her store, and they buy something from her, and they pay with non-US currency, right? And again, that is a subtle detail that is so appreciated, right? So because they're sharecroppers, they don't get dollars and cents like the white people in the US. So they pay, and Michael B. Jordan basically calls it monopoly money. So Annie is like, why are you here? Right? And I'm thinking like, you know, they were cousins or whatever, but through the dialogue, she is the mother of the child that was also his. They were an item. They lost their kid, and Smoke, you know, admits that he still loves her and all that. And Michael B. Jordan really kind of like sells the heart through the Smoke character. And she is from Louisiana. She gave him a mojo bag, a little necklace with a bag on it that basically was supposed to protect him. He never did anything with it. He always kept it. And after you know, we have a very heartfelt moment, he busses her down right there in the store. He pulls that dress up. So Killmonger is 2 for 2 in this movie and beating cheese. 2 for 2 on Marvel characters, by the way. And it was tasteful, right? You don't see anything too crazy. But still. And they do this thing because she's like a Louisiana voodoo priestess or whatever. There's this Spidey sense camera effect whenever something supernatural is happening, and I appreciate that. So he asks her to prepare food at the juke joint, and after he busts her down, of course she's along for the ride. So we smash cut from them smashing to her in the car with him, even though she said she wanted nothing to do with him. And I mean, that's how love works sometimes. So they're finally getting everything together, right? The last piece was this gentleman named Cornbread, who was basically their bouncer for the club. And there's another funny scene because Stack recruits him, and Stack basically tries to bribe Cornbread to work for them, but Cornbread's like, no, my wife's right here. She's picking cotton along with him. She's pregnant. Their kids are doing it too. And Stack gets so disrespectful. He's like, fuck your quota. He's like, I almost made quota. He's like, fuck your quota. He's like, hey, please have some respect. My wife's right here. He's like, fuck your wife too. We're like, oh, damn. And Cornbread goes to, lay the hands on him, and rightfully so, because he's over here starting. But Stack is basically like, listen, man, I'm about to pay you so much. Your wife is going to give you that Gawk Gawk 3000. So as Cornbread's about to go up and give him the hands, his wife is the one that stops him. And she's like, how much you paying him? That was one of the genuine laughs throughout the whole theater. Like, oh damn, he was not lying. She's going to. So that was funny. So we get to the juke joint. They're putting everything together. And we cut to finally the vampire part of the movie, right? There's a man running. It's sundown. He's smoking. And he blames it on Indian people setting him alight. And we're like, oh. I was like, oh, this is a vampire. Don't let him in. So he has to be let in, and he bribes them. He sees that they're clan members. He bribes them. How does he bribe them? With money. I think he bribes them with money. And because they're clan members, he also plays on the fact that they're bigots and they don't like Indian people. I thought it was, BSing, but no, these Indian people pull up. And they're like, hey, we're looking for someone. Have you let him in yet? Because if you did, that's a bad John. Like, we need to end him now. And the sun is almost down. So they're, vampire hunters, Indian vampire hunters, Native American, vampire hunters. One of them's on horseback. It's cool. It's so cool. And the woman is like, no, get out of my house. Get off my lawn type stuff. So he, in his native language, I'm not well versed in, like, please forgive my ignorance. I don't know if it was Inuit, Cherokee, what, I don't know. But in his native language, he basically says a blessing over her and they dip because the sun's going down. So then the woman goes to look for her husband and it's too late. He got. The husband got by the vampire, and then they get her too. So we cut to the juke joint, and everybody's having a good time. Everybody's dancing. It looks like a nicely put together function, right? And we get a few character moments where we find out that Stack still loves Mary. He just set her up and kind of pushed her away because he said that his lifestyle is dangerous and she could never be with him because he's black. Also, we find out that she's like a 16th black. So shout out Haley Steinfeld, one of us. We see, people paying with wooden nickels, and they market this place as a place for us, by us, FUBU, but they're also out to make a profit. So, people are paying and trying to haggle alcohol prices and all this stuff. Smoke is like, look, this is bad for business. And he's sitting in like a crow's nest. He's up top watching over everything. They've got people on standby. It's a full-fledged operation. Music's going. It's beautiful. So then we get to the scene that I referred to earlier as the melody scene. And it is so amazing and beautiful. So at the beginning of the very, very beginning of the movie, we get basically some folklore related to the world that we're in, where vampires are real. There are also people who are so good at music, or communities that can kind of be in tune, excuse me, with their ancestors. So after Delta Slim plays the piano and he's got the place rocking, they introduce Sammy to play guitar, and Sammy's doing his thing. He introduces himself. He sings a song that he wrote for his dad because he's a preacher boy. That's his nickname also. And basically he's like, I've been lying to you. I love the blues. I want to go away. I want to, I want something better for life, right? And a running theme throughout this movie is just trying to make do with what you got, right? These people are indentured servants. They're working their asses off, literally picking cotton, and they still can't enjoy the finer things in life. They can't, occupy the same spaces as people with pale skin, right? So they try and, do within their community to find some happiness and just an escape, which is why this place is up and running to begin with. So as Sammy is going off singing his song, Miles Catton he's doing his thing. That man can sing. It made me a fan of the blues, if nothing else. And shout out to Ludwig Göransson, because as he's playing, apparently he's got some sort of mysticism about him to where he can get in touch with the ancestors. This scene is so freaking phenomenal. So we get a oneer where the camera is circling throughout this entire establishment, and we see people dancing, people laughing, people drinking, people just having a good time, right? And Sammy is playing away. But then you hear other instrumentation. You hear drums, and you see like African musicians and African dancers. There specifically was a person doing Nigerian legwork, and you see people playing on like congos and things like that, and it was so amazing because you still have the blues in the background. Right, so like all of this music is overlapping, and still, it doesn't sound awful. It's mixed so well. So you've got the blues, you've got drums, you've got other African-inspired African music that comes from Africa on, along with the blues. Just, they're going and going, and then apparently, not only can he get in touch with people from the past, he can also get in touch with people from the future, right? So he's still going away, and this is, we're weaving in and out of, people dancing and doing their thing, and all of a sudden, what I believe was Bootsy Collins, or someone who's supposed to represent Bootsy Collins on an electric guitar, had to be from Parliament Funkadelic something. So not only can he get in touch with the past, he can get in touch with the future, right? So now we've got funk in the mix with the African guitars, with the blues. And then we go up onto the stage and we see what looks like someone from Run DMC in the 80s with a bucket hat and a gold chain on. We get a DJ scratch and he's rapping, and it still sounds wonderful. It doesn't sound like a hot mess. And then we pan over to a different corner and we see like something from the early aughts, like 2005, where like a young lady's like twerking, and we hear some like, Dirty South music kind of thing, some crunk, whatever. And then we pan over to another part and we see even more modern music, where there's a young man in a denim getup, and his hair's braided, and he looks like he's like the third brother from like Ayo and Teo, and he's doing like meme dances that you would see off of like TikTok or Instagram. And he's hitting it though, you know what I mean? He's hitting them folks, right? And like it sounds like SoundCloud rap or whatever the case is. So you've got all this music, all these different iterations of black culture in one room. Because yes, it takes place in like a warehouse, but it's not sectioned off. There's no real doors, and the camera's still going. Right? Of course they have cuts, like we get by like a wood beam and it looks like that's where they hid the cut, but it feels like a oneer, and we're just weaving in and out of this crowd with all kinds of music and all kinds of black people throughout the history of both Africa and America. And then we follow the Asian lady, the mom, played by Lee Jun Lee, Miss Grace Chow. And even she's got her ancestor behind her with some, I want to say she's Chinese, so Chinese music. If that's not at all what that was supposed to be, I apologize. It wasn't on purpose. But so like, not only is it our people and our ancestors, but it's them too. Anyone in this building, their past, present, future, musically, is all in this one room because of Sammy and how he's playing. And that was the melody scene I was talking about. And that scene alone is worth the price of admission. You gotta see it. You gotta hear it. It sounded amazing. So then we get basically that was what drew the vampires to that scene in the first place, because he wanted to, I'm just now realizing that the vampire wanted to literally suck the heritage out of Sammy. I feel so stupid for just realizing that now. So we have a culture vampire. And also, when the vampire initially went to, I'm going backwards, I'm sorry, but when the vampire went into that home of the clan members, and we see the Native Americans driving away or leaving, they're vultures that literally land on their house because they already know that they're dead, which was a cool touch. And it was out of focus. You didn't even see it. Well, I mean, you could see it, but it was out of focus. It wasn't obvious. So these vampires are drawn to this juke joint because of Sammy and how, like the energy that's being conjured up around here. And man, it was great. So these vampires operate by like traditional vampire rules, right? They have to be invited in. They can bite you and turn you. Wooden stakes, garlic. Those are the only things that get them out of here that we see anyway. So these three vampires, there's three of them now, they pull up to the juke joint. They're like, hey, we're just traveling musicians. We want to come up in your spot. Can you let us in? And they're like, Cornbread is like, nah, right? I think you're at the wrong place. And there's another subtle detail in here where everyone is wearing a hat. And when they're talking to a white person, they take it off. And I thought that was like, just wow, right? Like there's subtle touches throughout here that really make this feel like racist times. Anyway, yeah, just the subtle details throughout this movie are great. So they can't buy their way in, even though the guys need money, right? So like basically what happens is halfway through the night, Smoke is talking to Stack, and he's like, listen, we'll be out of money in 2 months if it goes the way that we're like going right now at this pace. So already failing, the business is already failing, right? So, yeah, they turned the vampires away initially, but Stack, being the hothead, talking to Mary, he then gets that information from Smoke and is like, Mary's like, hey, let me talk to them. They seem like they have money to spend. I know you need money. I'll make this happen for you, right? So she goes out there to speak to him, and you already know what it is. So they're actually singing. They're playing folk songs, and the movie does a great job of being suspenseful because it's like she's a goner. We just don't know when. The whole scene is like 2-3 minutes. She's out there talking to him. They're actually chopping it up, right? And then. And also these characters, like the vampires, do a good job of just being off. Like you can just tell something is off, which is why they get turned away. So because Mary lost her mom, right? They key in on that, and the head vampire, lead vampire, whoever he is, Bert was his name. He's like, she tells Bert, Mary tells Bert about her mom, and he's like, damn, I wish I could have saved her from that fate, but I could save you from it. And she's like, no, you can't. We all got to go sometime. And he turns back, and they do a really good, shout out to the VFX team on this one too. Like, how most animals who can see well at night have another membrane in their eye that reflects light back to you, which is why when you get like a dog or a cat or a deer or anything like that, you shine a light in its eyes, you can see that light coming back at you. Vampires do this too. So he sets down his guitar, ukulele, whatever. He turns back to her and you can see his eyes. And then he's also drooling because I guess he's hungry. So Stack gave her a blick to go out there and talk to him. So she's like, hey, get up out of here. And she goes to walk back into the spot because she's like, I'm done with this. And unfortunately she turns her back and you can see the beginnings of Bert beginning to float after her, and then it cuts and we're like, she's gone, right? And that's where the chaos starts. She's the end. So we cut back to the juke joint and basically everybody's getting some play, right? So little Sammy takes the advice that Stack gave him about how to eat the poon and he applies it to the young lady Perline. So he's like going down her in the kitchen and Stack is the one that hears him first and he's so proud. That smile said everything, right? Like he didn't say not a word, but you could hear, everyone in the theater could hear, my nigga. So shout out to that. And then Stack's turn to get some. So he and Mary start to hook up, but she's already a vampire now, right? So, and again, the movie is playing with you because you know what's happening, you just don't know when. So you see them beginning to hook up, and I don't know why Ryan Coogler wrote it like this, but they're not normal, bro. They're freaky frogs. Like Haley Steinfeld, Kate Bishop spits into Killmonger's mouth on some freaky shit. It's crazy. Anyway, so they're starting to hook up, and she's drooling, and she's turned and all that stuff, but they need Stack for something. So Sammy's the one that's going to get him, and Sammy's like, oh, he's handling business, I'll come back later. And when he opens the door, we're thinking, oh, like he's gonna see Stack get bitten. No, they're having sex. But then Smoke goes in there, and it was literally like 5 seconds in between people going to check on him. Smoke goes up in there, and Stack got, man. Stack, the cool one, is the one that gets bitten. And it is a gut-wrenching scene because, and again, shout out to Michael B. Jordan because you feel his loss. So, like, he sees Stack get bitten and rightfully dual wields 2 Glockies and blicks her up, but she gets right back up and she runs out the juke joint, and she's like, "I'm gonna kill you! Like, we're gonna kill you all." And Stack dies in Smoke's arms, and it is bad. Like, Michael B. Jordan is shaking, holding himself. He's surrounded by his loved ones, and they're like, "Hey, man, like, he's gone." And he looks at Annie. He's like, "You got a mojo bag or something to save him?" Because he's the older brother, and he's like, "I was just supposed to keep him safe." And man, that hits right here. So, Stack is gone, but not really. So, and then Cornbread, the bouncer goes, they did Cornbread dirty, man. Cornbread goes to take a leak, and that's how he gets got. And you see these eyes in the bushes, and it's so creepy, and it's so great. And he gets bitten with his dick out. He's literally peeing. You see a prosthetic penis. We don't show it, but he gets got too. And so that's how this whole thing, the ball gets rolling. They shut down the juke joint. Everybody is told to go home, and that was a big mistake because everybody gets got. Everyone who was told to leave got. it was insane. So Cornbread tries to put on an act and come back in, but he can't because he needs to be invited in, and then they question him, and it's a really good tense scene because they're like, they follow a good line of logic. Why can't you just come in? And he can't come up with a reason for it, right? So then he fakes like he's gonna leave, but he's also like, I need to get paid for the night. And then that's his way in, because Michael B. Jordan goes to reach out, and then he gets dragged out. And shout out to the makeups, the practical effects for this movie also, because these aren't the like pretty self-healing kind of vampires. Whatever gets done to them, it sticks with them throughout the rest of the movie. So Cornbread pulls him out and tries to like bite his arm. Michael B. Jordan flicks him in the face, and you just see all this flesh coming out and everything. He doesn't heal. He stays like that for the entire movie. I mean, he's not dead, but his face is just like mush. Yeah, there's a lot of blood in this movie. So, yep. And then Stack wakes up, and there's another really, so Stack, of course, he has that knife with the brass knuckles, and he stabs the door, and he's like, let me out. Nobody wants to let him out. And people keep getting so close to this door. I'm like, he's going to stab someone in the face. He's going to stab somebody in the eye. Get away from the door. But it doesn't happen. That's, Ryan Coogler and the whole cast and crew kind of playing with us a little bit, which is great. Because I'm like, and like people like look through the hole that he made with the knife, and he just breaks down the door and he heads out. Yeah. So then the dad of the Asian family goes to get the car for his wife. He gets got, and she is so hurt by it. Yeah, he tries to coax her out, but Annie's really like the Rock. She's the mystic. She has all the knowledge, so she keeps everyone safe. She arms everyone. We do a test, like the Thing, where everyone has to eat a piece of garlic, and we think that people are objecting. They're like, there's one character objecting to eating the garlic, and we're like, ooh, you're a vampire. But turns out no, they're not. And then Delta Slim gets he eats the garlic, but it doesn't agree with the alcohol he had, and he has a reaction, and we're thinking, oh, he's the vampire. He's not. But that was a great touch. Tons of suspense. So then they find a dead body, and they throw the guy out because they're like, he has to be invited back in, so we're safe. And Smoke and Sammy take him out, and you see what looks like a scene from True Blood when that pagan monster came and like hypnotized the whole town and turned them all into freakazoids. They're doing a song and dance in the parking lot of this place, and the main vampire Bert is river dancing in the middle of it. So they have it's just a bunch of black people with Michael B. Jordan and Haley Steinfeld doing basically an Irish river dance cipher, and he's going off, and they're singing and all this stuff. Turns out the guy that they brought out there wasn't actually dead. He was just drunk, so they kill the guy, unfortunately. His face gets all messed up, and he stays like that for the rest of the movie. It's just really, yeah. But then, so the Asian dad who got comes back, and he tries to coax his wife into coming out, and you see people like wanting to, but knowing like this isn't a good idea. So when that doesn't work, Bert, like the main vampire dude, comes up, and you find out that they share memories once they get turned and stuff. So he's like, I'll just go after your daughter. And that sends Lee Jun-Lee's character over the edge, and she's just not mentally stable anymore. And yeah, she's the Peter Quill of this movie. When Peter Quill woke Thanos up and doomed half the universe, It's her. Because she's trying to arm everybody. She's like, listen, I'm not going to let them get to my daughter. And rightfully so. We have already established, them as characters before. We see the daughter. We get a flashback to her, like, waving goodbye to her and all this stuff. So she's the one, through her rage, she says, come on in, you motherfuckers. And that's technically an invite. So they go on in there. People start dropping like flies. I mean, it's bad. And then Annie gets bit. Smoke he promised her earlier that, he would, put her out of her misery if it needed to happen. So he does it. And they get mad. They were like, no, we had a grand plan. We're a family. We're going to live together forever. And they mean it too. Like, they wasn't just like we're going to eat you and take your blood. It's like, no, we're a community. We're a community. And, we're trying to build something here, which was a crazy way to take it. But that's another theme in this movie that's just like, hey, shout out to that. So, the visuals again. So Lee Jun-lee's character, Grace, has to kill her own husband, but she's on fire. So she makes like a Molotov cocktail, but immediately it gets smacked out of the way. She leaves the juke joint and stakes her husband, but she's on fire. And they burn together. And just seeing that was so much to digest. It was insane. Then you get Perlene gets bit, unfortunately, trying to save Sammy. Sammy's the one that the vampires want. So, well, yeah. So Perlene gets bit trying to save Sammy. It's Smoke versus Stack. And at some point, they're going at it, and Smoke is about to stake Stack, and we cut away to it, and Sammy makes it out. We find out where his limp came from. He fell down two stories. He gets baptized by this vampire. He starts praying to Our Father, and then another creepy part. He starts praying to Our Father, and all of these vampires that share a hive mind are just walking towards him, watching him get baptized by this vampire, and they're all praying with him. Like, dog, if God can't save you, you're cooked. So everybody's praying to Our Father, and he smacks him over the head with the guitar, and that's where you see the why he has half a guitar left. And the visual effects for that dude was crazy. Like, he had these long, ugly fingers, and his whole face was just messed up. But Smoke turns out to still be alive, and he stakes the main vampire bad guy. And man, watching a vampire burn in the sun with a stake going through him, it creates like a fiery tornado with Michael B. Jordan in a pool of water. That wasn't on my bingo card, but visually it works. It was crazy. So then we cut to the beginning of the movie where Sammy's back in the church and his dad's telling him to put the guitar down. But we didn't know that Smoke was still alive. Smoke decides to stay behind because when Bert turned the racists, he learned that the dude who sold the smokestack twins the sawmill that turned into the juke joint planned on coming back the next day to kill them. So Smoke, standing on business, squad wipes this entire chapter of the KKK because he was a soldier, turns out. He squad wipes this entire group of the Klan, and it is so dope to see. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, Michael B. Jordan really did his thing in this movie. And then, he sees Annie and his baby, and you see the supernatural stuff going on. He gets shot once. He squad wipes this entire group and only gets shot once, but it's bad enough to where he's gonna bleed out. And he asks the dude who's left, the Grand Dragon, for a cigarette because apparently he adopted a smoking habit because his nerves are bad from being a soldier. He's got PTSD. And he falls down before he can kill him. And he's smoking on this cigarette. And he sees Annie breastfeeding her child. So he's about to pass on. And he's like, Annie's like, if you put the cigarette out, you can hold her. And that was such a beautiful scene. So he puts out the cigarette and he's reaching for his child. And it's cut by the Grand Dragon being like, listen, man, I got money, I can pay you. He's like, oh, it just Swiss cheeses, bro. And then goes on to hold his baby in heaven, which was really nice. Yeah, man. So many good characters in this movie. There's another scene at the end where, we find out Sammy didn't give up the lifestyle. He went on to become a blues musician, and he created a band called the Perlines because he never forgot her. And turns out Stack survived. Smoke did not kill him, could not. And you get a little glimpse of that during the fight, that they couldn't harm one another. And then Haley Steinfeld's character, Kate Bishop, also survived. And they follow him he's an old man now. He's still got the scar, but he's an old man now. And Stack promised Smoke that he wouldn't go after Sammy. So he's lived a long life as a musician. And they sit down and he plays them a song. And then they leave. Yeah, this movie was awesome. This movie was awesome. It was full of layered characters, full of grief, full of excitement, and full of loss. This is a masterpiece. You should go see it. I've been talking for over an hour now. I can't say enough about this film. Go see it. Thank you, everyone who was involved with this film. This is a wonderful movie. Now I'm going to go watch other people's opinions on this movie. Do something selfless, respect everyone, and don't invite vampires into your crib. I'm out.